Hello, Internet and Wotive community. I am Jackie Fox. I am going to be talking about Resnick the Hoppy today, but it's going to be quite a journey. I started this journey, this is the fourth take, by the way. I started this journey by watching Umbra's video on Resnick the Hoppy. Now, I want to put the caveat in there that, just to be fair to Umbra, his impression was without being able to get good access to her stats. I'm not sure if you could see her on Wotive Calc yet, but after seeing that video, I was kind of curious myself, just to see how she stacked up to certain other units that I love, because it seemed like she had some potential to do some similar things. And people who are longtime viewers of this channel will know that probably one of my sentimental favorite units, and also kind of one of my favorite unit archetypes, is Summer Kilfay. I typically really like Striders in general, and I think that this girl compares really nicely with Summer Kilfay, if not being just a pretty big direct upgrade. And you know, it's now kind of hard to call Summer Kilfay much of an evasion unit, but she does have a lot of evasion potential. So after I saw that video, I decided, you know, Umbra is saying she's not an evade unit, it could depend on the stats. Let's see what kind of stats I can get in the builder for just a single unit, you know, not in a party, so potentially not even the best stats they can have. And really, I'm just giving them stats, I'm just giving them equipment based on, you know, what you might have for that unit and what you might use for that unit to get kind of an evasion build. So I'm going to be comparing evasion builds in this video, even if that's not necessarily the best thing to do with her, and it might not be, just because of how much the meta has changed for evade units, but I still think that that's probably a pretty good strength of hers, unlike a lot of the things that I've heard, such as her agility being low, which, yeah, kind of, but we'll talk about it, and such as, you know, maybe her not being able to hit a really high benchmark with luck, which I don't think is as true, and especially because of her equipment. So there's a lot of things here, there's a lot of interlocking variables that give her good agility and give her good luck, but it's not really something that you see necessarily off of her raw stats. So I understand why Umbra had that impression of her. So let's first look at an evasion build, current evasion build for Summer Kilfay. Again, not the best evasion unit in the world, but one that definitely reminds me a lot of this unit in a lot of ways, and also the same cost. I'm going to be comparing her to Elena, kind of the high benchmark of evasion even to this day, a little bit later on, but I think that these three units are all pretty similar, actually, in a lot of ways. But let's start with Summer Kilfay. For this build, I have 99 agility, 456 luck, and 89 evasion, and this actually compares pretty well in a lot of ways to Resnick the Hoppy, but not quite. And one of the things that I do want to point out, because I'm going to move on from this lady and we're going to be more talking about Elena, but what I want to point out is that she has nearly 1300 attack in this build, as well as 60 defense penetration and 38 slash attack resistance penetration, which is pretty good. That means that she is going to come into a fight even without buffs, even without anything being conditional, even if she gets debuffed or gets her buffs removed, she's still going to have 60 defense penetration, she's still going to have close to 40 slash attack resistance penetration. There are definitely cards that can help you bring the slash attack resistance penetration number up that she's coming into battle with. Although this exists for all the units I'm going to talk about, and I'm not using that card for any of them. I just want you to be aware that they could all get 35 more slash attack resistance penetration in even just a guild battle party pretty easily. So before we move on to Elena, let's look at Resnick's stats. So one thing that I want to note, two things that I want to note really, looking at her build, I'm using her dagger. And I'm also, for her passives, I'm using Juggling Master and Thief Lore. Both of these increase agility. Juggling Master also increases luck, and Thief Lore also increases her move to 4, which is going to be helpful in the party I envision her with. which is going to have Zazan the Unkillable. So, just as kind of a TDLR before we get too far into this character, I do think she's worthwhile for Earth accounts that have Zazan the Unkillable and really good Earth cards, especially for evasion. The one card that I'm definitely going to require for her is Halloween Monsters. If you don't have Halloween Monsters, that is her best main VC, and I don't think that she could really pull off the evasion and the agility and all the things that I'm going to be showing you here with her without it. Another big requirement is probably going to be Chaos Odin, and maybe as your third, but not the most important, or fourth and not the most important of these requirements is Solitary Lion maxed out, because that's going to give the slash attack resistance penetration, and is going to get her base slash attack resistance penetration in this build up to 50, which is pretty respectable. Defense penetration of 20, not that high. And really, I think that she is meant to be kind of a direct upgrade tank buster to something like Summer Killfay. The problem with her in that respect is that she doesn't come into the fight with as much of the penetrations as other units I'm going to compare her to. Also, where Summer Killfay had 1300 attack, she only has just a little over 1100 in this build. But she has 115 agility. That is a total of 16 more agility than Summer Killfay. She has 493 luck, which is maybe like 40 more luck than Summer Killfay. The downside here for evasion for her is that she has only memes 69 evade instead of, what was it, like 86 or something for Summer Killfay. But I think that overall, because she has a much higher agility stat, she even has the edge in luck, I think that evade really isn't going to make as big of a difference as it could. Remember, all three of these stats factor heavily into the functional evasion rate for a character. Evade does stack in pretty heavily, but I think that she's at least better than Summer Killfay, which again isn't saying a lot, but we're going to compare her next to LNY. So let's look at the kind of the Cadillac of evasion units, Starlight LNY. We're looking at 1254 magic, so coming pretty close to the raw attacking stat that Summer Killfay had, and really edging out, again doing a bit more damage, you would assume, than a unit like Resnick the Hoppy. We're also looking at 40 base slash attack resistance penetration without help from VCs, and I didn't put her spirit penetration passive on, apparently. But she could come in with spirit penetration as well. Actually, so maybe in this build she's not as much of a tank buster as she could be, because I leaned a little bit more into evasion. So let's look at those evasion stats and see how she stacks up to Resnick the Hoppy and Summer Killfay. 111 agility blows Summer Killfay out of the water, but is still slower than Summer Resnick with both of her agility passives running. 481 luck is significantly higher than Summer Killfay as well. However, it is just a bit, 12 points lower than Resnick the Hoppy. And then when we get into evasion, instead of 69, we're looking at 96, which is the highest of these three ladies, and definitely going to make her the premium of the evasion units of the three. However, I think that the difference here really makes sense when you look at the difference in cost. We're talking about a 90 cost unit versus a 100 cost unit. So, you know, really, I think those advantages make sense for her. And one of the downsides of Resnick the Hoppy, especially evade Resnick the Hoppy, especially this build, is that I'm really using all of her support skills to support her speed, her evasion, and her movement. All of which are important for her, I would think, but unlike other characters, especially Starlight LNY being a good example, they just have really power-packed passives that are bringing a lot of things to the table, and especially with Summer LNY, a lot of flexibility to the table. Summer Killfay has pretty good flexibility in her passives as well, and you don't necessarily really get that from Resnick the Hoppy. I mean, she has good passives as well, but if you're trying to do this kind of thing, you're really going to be locked into those two agility boosting passives. And you might be able to change Thief's Lore for something else, but since I think that she pairs incredibly well with Zazan the Unkillable, you probably want her to have that 4th movement to be able to keep up with him a little bit better and to be able to chain with him and set up chains for him. And now that we've looked at all the stats and kind of figured out where she fits in there, I'm going to take a brief look at her kit. I'm going to assume you've already looked at her kit or you already understand her kit pretty well. I'm going to skip through a lot of it. And really what I want to talk about is what I see as being her core loop. So I'm playing some dual arena footage in the background. Don't mind me, I'm just fighting lightning units that are... and I'm not even high rank, because even though I had Jeume, I'm not really competing in arena this week, until today, really. So I'm still low level, so these are still pretty easy fights for her, and with her being level 87, she's generally not getting too close to the fight, but we are starting to see kind of the core loop of what she could be as a unit, and what she could be as a tank buster. So let me walk you through that. If she is starting off moving laterally to do a group buff, which is how I set her up in this, she's going to run to the side and use Bounding Bunny, which is going to give us Spirit missile resistance for the 2 units, as well as raise her evasion rate by 25. This does eventually upgrade to Rabbit Rondo, which also gives her 20 AP. Per cast, which is pretty cool. So after that, if she can't find another unit to buff, she's going to go into just keep hopping, which is going to give her courage and 40 slash attack resistance penetration. So based on what she has, base 15, and what you're probably going to be running in the party, another 35 with Solitary Lion. This is going to bring her up to a total of, let's see, 90 slash attack resistance penetration. She's basically going to be ignoring people's slash attack resistance at this point. Then her most ranged move, although not necessarily the one that she's going to be using the most often, because I can definitely see Domination, and on this map you're going to see her using Neutralizing Edge, which removes Auto Revive and Haste. Not a bad move, AoE. And, you know, if I had her at 120, she'd be using Domination, which is going to remove Protect and completely invalidate Counter Chance in an AoE. But her longest range move, not counting those, is... and actually still her longest range move in a lot of ways, is Triple Juggle. Now, this has the same mod as Neutralizing Edge, so it is going to compete with that. And it has the same range as Constricting Cleave, but in every respect, it's going to do more damage than that. So unless she doesn't have the AP to cast Thrice the Acrobat or Triple Juggle, she is going to use that over Constricting Cleave, even if you have Strider Subjob, which I generally recommend. One thing I will say about it is it's kind of unfortunate that Spirit Ward and her Bounding Bunny or Rabbit Rondo buff both boost Spirit by the same amount, because that's an unfortunate overlap. And with a character like this, it really could help her to get the evasion, but also the attack up. But I think you're probably going to be turning Spirit Ward off for these other buffs. So she's already got herself up to 90 slash attack penetration. She's got her courage up. And if she hits someone with Thrice the Acrobat, not only is she starting a chain, but she's going to get 50 defense penetration for that attack. That's going to stack onto the 20 that she already has in her build for 70 defense penetration. So she is going to hit the first thing she hits on the fight, if she uses Thrice the Acrobat, which you likely will. If she's not removing their Auto Revive and Haste instead, or destroying their Protect and making them unable to counter. If she's not doing that, then she's going to be hitting them with 90 slash attack resistance penetration and 70 defense penetration from these 2 consecutive buffs. And then you ask yourself, what if something survives even all of that? Well, now she's within 4 spaces of them. She has 4 movement, so she can get right up in their face on the next move, even if they don't move closer to her, and hit them with Twisting Shield Breaker from her Strider sub. This is going to break a physical barrier. It's going to remove courage. And it is going to do all of that before doing a 200 mod in an AoE that is going to hit 3 spaces in front of her next to each other. It's kind of an odd AoE, but I've seen it hit multiple units when they bunch up with their tank. On certain maps, this can be really amazing, but at the very least, it is a tank destroyer. So, I mean, looking at what she can do, and also I haven't talked about, and one of the things that I think most updates her as a tank buster with what we're seeing in JP and what we're already starting to see in our own global is that this 50 healing power down on Thrice the Acrobat and also on her LB is going to be so important for so many tanks moving into the future. I mean, right now it's just going to be tanks like Snow and like Warrior of Light, but we're eventually going to even get brawlers that have threshold heals like Reagan, and there's just a lot of units coming with this type of build. I mean, even Slime can do it. Not saying that she's necessarily a slime counter, although as a slash unit and as the thing that slime resists most heavily being slash, like I think getting up to maybe even 90%, making him a slash tank, she could just rip right the fuck through that. Also, really destroy Slime's ability to recover. I don't think Slime's going to survive this attack, any of these attacks, but, you know, really reduce the healing power even if it could. You can break physical barriers, you can turn off reflex, you can turn off haste, you can turn off auto revive, you can turn off healing, you can bypass any sort of defenses that they could possibly have that are relative to what you're doing. You can get rid of courage, just like everything that you would want to dissect a tank and like give them a vivisection on the middle of the field is within this girl's kit, and they all stack incredibly well on top of each other. This is the definitive, in my mind, tank destroying build going into the future. And it just so happens to help that most tanks are fairly inaccurate, which means that she doesn't have to be the most evasive unit in the world to dodge tanks. This girl handles the tank and lets your party do what your party does. And I think that's pretty awesome if you're running into a tank, especially a newer tank, where she's really going to be able to take advantage of her healing power down abilities. So yeah, that's pretty much my feelings on Resnick the Hoppy, some comparisons, some testing her in battle. After I made the first take of this video, I thought, you know what? I have an Earth account, I got pretty lucky on Jeume, maybe I'll get lucky with this girl. I should throw 4K viz at her, do the 3-step, get the tickets for awakening materials, and wouldn't you know it, I got her on step 1. So I did another take to brag about how I got her on step 1 and would be able to test her out in a later video. And I decided, well, wait, I didn't do the other 2 pulls, I might as well do the other 2 pulls. And then I got more the merrier on the free 3rd pull. Wow. All that being said, you know, because this is a WOTF channel that thinks of itself as a supplement to your other WOTF channels, I'm going to talk about things that I think either people are getting wrong or that I just find interesting. So I might not always post all the time. I've had an ankle injury recently that has kind of kept me from focusing too much on all that. I've been writing a lot of books, actually. And if you stick around after this point, I will talk about some of the books that I've written and kind of a little bit of a... Oh no, that's on my laptop. I won't be able to edit that in because I have to do the editing for this on my phone because my laptop's battery is kaput and I'm having to buy a new one. If you would like to help me in that process, you could send some money on Patreon or Ko-fi. I would appreciate any sort of a donation that you could get to get my laptop back in good health. But yeah, I've been writing a bunch and I have some books for you to check out. Maybe they'll be in the description or something. I'll also, I guess, provide some build links. Again, probably not the best things in the world. You might want to tweak this, and if you have better equipment, use it. But pretty good basic builds for these characters. I'll definitely include the Resnick the Hoppy build for you to take a look at. And, you know, again, I think that there's a lot of things that you probably want to go with this girl to really maximize her. She doesn't fit on every Earth team, but I think what she brings to an Earth team is really cool. And if you have Zazan, if you have Halloween monsters, if you have the Solitary Lion, if you have Chaos Odin, you know, all of these things, you definitely want to consider, like, maybe just do the 9-step. Just see. Maybe do the 3 steps. See if you can get as lucky as I did. I don't think we can really bank on that, but hey, it might happen. So, you know, she's definitely a really good 90 cost unit. And interestingly enough, one of the things I think she counters the best into the future is once we get the Skahal meta, which is incoming when he gets auto courage at high enough HP. He's going to start comboing really well with other lightning mages, which is going to give us a lightning magic meta. Well, maybe not like a meta, but they'll be a meta team in that respect at least, where lightning has been mainly physical pretty much forever. But Resnick, the regular, is an incredible supplement to Skahal. But luckily enough for this girl, she deals with mages very well. She deals with lightning units very well. So, and also she destroys healing power. So the thing that makes Skahal and Resnick kind of broken as a combo in JP, and I say kind of broken because it's not unbeatable, but I've seen it kick some ass, is that, you know, Skahal can take enough damage and that, you know, he can... Well, no, I don't want to say that. You know, the auto courage is really what's saving him, and Resnick is fast enough that she can get in there and heal him back up and get him back up to enough that he can have auto courage again. So basically, Resnick's heals are keeping him in courage. So as long as he's not taking too many hits back to back, he's relatively safe in a fight. And, you know, he's a pretty powerful unit, so he's going to be knocking out things in front of him, so there's going to be, you know, less options to gang up on him with, especially if he opens with his LB, which is really powerful. Also, Flare, just a lot of ways to take out characters, and, you know, that courage keeps him around, and then Resnick keeps him around. But just imagine him getting hit with the healing power down of a triple juggle. Now he's broken. Now he can't get... Now even maybe Resnick can't get his health back up high enough to get his courage to kind of reproc itself automatically. So, you know, I think he's... I think Resnick is definitely going to be really good against that, and might even be like a direct counter to that type of thing coming, because it was definitely big on JP after Skahal got that update, which is kind of weird because... if you weren't paying attention to JP right now, if you were just paying attention to Global, I don't think anybody would see a Skahal meta coming. And this is definitely going to be a thorn in Skahal's side. Although we shouldn't necessarily pretend that Earth couldn't take Skahal even without this. But Earth isn't necessarily great against mages, even though they are great against lightning units. So they can have a little bit of trouble with this. But this, I think, having Resnick the Hoppy on your team would make that matchup a lot more in your favor. But in addition to that, she's just going to be really good with tanks. And, you know, that's what I think about her. And I guess this is the end of the video. So thanks for sticking around. And if you want to help me get my laptop back and working, I'm going to have some ways that you can donate to the channel in the description to help pay for a new battery. But in the meantime, thank you for watching and have a good week. Good luck on your polls.